Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. We continue to meet candidates running for office, and now we are going to meet Andrea Hulsman, who is running for state representative for District 63, which is really northern DuBois County and the upper counties in this area. Andrea, it's good to meet you. I guess we should start off by finding out who is Andrea Hulsman.
Well, first let me say thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And what I've learned from being a candidate here in DuBois County is when I go door to door to voters, the first thing they always ask me is, who are you, where do you come from, and who are your people? So, because that's very important here in DuBois County. So I will start off by saying my father is Steve Jenkins. He is originally from Southern Ohio. And my mother is Betty Betts. She was Betty Betts. She worked at Aristocraft here in Jasper. It's now Master Brand Cabinets. And so my father got a job with Aristocraft and moved to Jasper. And that's when they started dating, and the rest is history. So my parents, Betty and Steve Jenkins, they live in Ireland right now. And I grew up in Ireland for most of my life. And then I went to school for Greater Jasper Consolidated Schools, attended Vincent's University and University of Iowa, doing some family development work so that I was able to work with, do casework with families under the poverty level here in DuBois County and in surrounding counties. But then I'll go more personal on this. And so I decided to stay in Jasper because I knew eventually I wanted to raise a family and I wanted to raise them in DuBois County. And so I had a friend who knew this guy. He was single at the time, working over at Jasper Engines, and she said, you should give this guy a call. And so I, being a strong woman that I am, went ahead and called him and asked him out on a blind date, and he turned me down. So, of course, the first thing I did is pursue it more, and here we are. So I married a Jason Hulsman, and we've been together for 12 years since that blind date. We have 3 children, and we live here in Jasper currently.
Well, if you've got a great history and tradition here in DuBois County, what is making you run for the office of a state representative?
Well, okay, so can I do some background on this for you? Growing up, I joined the Girl Scouts at the age of 7. And that's when I started my public service in the community. I even had received the Youth Excelling in Service Award for my community service hours growing up, and was fortunate enough to be in a troop with Nancy Hoppick as a leader. And she has been a mentor, a second mother to me, and has inspired me always to reach for my dreams. So in doing that, I was invited to go to the State House as a youth, and I would go page, and I would page under Dennis Hickey. And I remember my friends standing around, on the House floor. Oh, I can't wait till we're done with this and we can go to the Circle Center Mall to go shopping, because that's what typical teenage girls would do. But I'm standing there going, I can't wait to do something for him. I hope he waves me over here, so I could do something for him. And he did. And I know at that moment, that's when I decided at someday down the road, I will be sitting in that seat and I will be doing the work that he's doing. So that was my initial peek into politics, and where I kind of got the bug. And in doing so, when I came back to Jasper, after those, I'd always, that's when I started following a little bit in politics. And I've always been involved in the community. I don't consider myself a politician, more of a community advocate, because I'm not a politician. This is the first time I'm running for office. So with that, I got involved with a local party here, and started doing door-to-door work with some candidates. And one of them inspired me to apply for the Emerging Leaders Program here in Indiana. And they pick 40 young, hopeful leaders across the state. It's a very competitive program. A lot of people will have to apply for several years. But I applied, and within a couple of weeks got a response back, and they wanted me in the program. So I did that. And it's a 1-year intense training program. I actually just graduated from that in May. And through this program, I was able to meet with John Gregg, Christina Hale, and several of the current representatives up at the House. And I even met the president at a women's forum in Washington, D.C. last year. I was invited to speak at, or to participate in. And through that, I knew what was going on at the state level, and I knew some of the things that if I were a representative, these are things that I would do. But But through working with these current representatives, I learned a little bit more in depth of how the legislative process is going. And so through this program, I was inspired, instead of running 10 years down the road like I intended, to do it now. Because I think there's a lot of things that need to be fixed in Indiana. And a lot of these things stem from the House and the Senate not being balanced in Indiana. I think a lot of the issues stem from that. So here we are in May of this year, as I'm working for a local candidate on their race. I was, poring over the primary results and kept going back to the ballot that was unfilled, for District 63 on our side, and kind of started reaching out to Davies, Pike, Martin, Du Bois. Do we have somebody that we can nominate and put in this race? Because I feel like we need to, voters need a choice. I feel if you're going to have an election, voters should have a choice in their representation. So with that, of course, nobody wanted to do it. So me being an emerging leader and all hyped up and coming out of that program, I'm like, I'll do it. So then I reached out to the people I've been working with throughout the year. And with that, they were super excited that I was, willing to fast forward and do this 10 years prior to doing it. So then I was nominated in June to go ahead and fill the vacant ballot.
And you mentioned that there are things in Indiana you would like to change or see fixed. And so what are some, I know we could go all day, but we are limited on time. What are some things that you think, you would like to address?
Well, in stepping up to fill the ballot, I was more or less inspired in May when I'm going through those primary results and trying to fill the ballot. This was during the same time that I got the newspaper with the Otwell Elementary closing, and the pictures of the students and the teachers and their final days. And literally that same week is when I got in contact or reached out to a guy who is running the Save the Jeeps effort over for the support for the referendum over at the Northeast Du Bois. And I do work part-time at Greater Jasper Consolidated Schools as a substitute teacher. So education has always been very important to me. And so in doing that, that was one of the things that kind of lit the fire. We have to do this now, because in our state, I feel like even our small schools, locally, our small schools are so important. And if they're good schools, we shouldn't be losing our schools. The school funding formula was based off of a school up north, and it doesn't work for all schools. And there's no reason that if we have a surplus budget at the state level, that we should be closing our good local schools. So that was the one issue that really lit the fire and to get me to jump into this race and pursue some changes in education. So I've been working closely with the guy who is coordinating the Save the Jeeps effort, Sean Dooley. I don't know if you know him or not, but we've managed to, we're going to have a rally for early voting in Du Bois on October the 29th. And between Sean and I and the Indiana State Teachers Association, we've got Glenda Ritz coming down for this event. So she will be making an appearance at the event. So, but to be clear on the issues, I'm running to serve the people of this district. So it's not necessarily I'm running just for education. I'm running for all the issues and concerns that people have, and I'm learning as I go through the district, the different issues. And infrastructure is another thing. I don't even remember the number of bridges in just Du Bois County that, need fixed. I went to the airport yesterday, met with Travis McQueen, and he was telling me the issues that they have, because when you think of infrastructure, the first thing people think of are roads and bridges. But, we have rails and we have air travel. So, and he's got a lot of concerns over there at the airport as well. So with the imbalance at the state level, I feel like we could have addressed infrastructure before this year. And so with that, I feel like there's kind of a, not a political game, but agenda being at the state level, where legislation is more one-sided versus representing, all people. So I feel like a balanced house would better represent this district, and, the issues wouldn't be in the way they are, because I feel like with this agenda, I'm finding that this party is tending to pump money from the budget into much needed infrastructure, education, everything on election years. And I feel like, you know, and to me that's a little bit playing political games, and I think Hoosier families really deserve better than, you know, so infrastructure, education, I could go on. Veterans.
Well, let's go now to what's the difference between you and your opponent?
Well, you know, I know my opponent. I was friends with his son in school, so and I actually hung out at their house quite a bit. So besides the obvious, I mean, I am 35-year-old female, you know, DuBois County. He is a business owner, a male, incumbent. You know, the obvious differences besides that are, I think that I'm running because I'm a mother and a woman that's just concerned. You know, I want things to change, and I feel like balance will bring that change. And you know, not to bash parties or, you know, but I feel like getting more people from the other side of the aisle, that is, you know, more people working together across the aisle will, you know, fix a lot of these issues that we are seeing at the state level. So I can't tell you huge differences besides the obvious, but I think, I mean, I think we would both want what's best for Hoosier families. I just think we're two different demographics running for this seat. So that'd be the biggest differences. Yeah. Okay,
now this is your opportunity to talk to the voters. Tell them that they should vote for you and why.
Well, as your state representative, I can assure you that I will work tirelessly to bring better opportunities to this district, and I humbly ask for your vote on November the 8th. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Andrea Hulsman is running for state representative on District 63. Make sure that you go out and vote early or vote on Election Day, November 8th. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching WJTS. We're local people watching local people.